Good evening. Good evening. It is Tip Tuesday. My name is Lady B. I am the leading lady of the Flame 32 Church and the Glow Center. And I'm so excited to be back here with you guys. We have had an awesome time with our guests who have been guest presenters. And this month we are tackling our 10 minutes on a Tuesday. And we are talking about dealing with and navigating grief, loneliness, and anxiety during the holidays. Let me set the stage. It was Thanksgiving season for me. Um, During some of my college years, I did not come home. I was dealing with a lot of mental issues, emotional issues. I was very stressed. I was not living up to the purpose that God had in my life. It was weighing on me. Things were falling apart all around me. I was struggling, and I felt all alone. I really wasn't alone, but I had isolated myself due to my own choices and my own decisions, and I didn't want to be bothered. But in isolating myself, it became worse. Depression overtook. I had really serious anxiety. Alcoholism went through the roof at this point in time, and it was during Thanksgiving season where I decided that I was going to just be by myself, that I literally contemplated the thought of suicide. In that part. I was in probably the loneliest and lowest state of my life at that point in time. And I was dealing with grief, because grief is not just when you lose someone to death. We grieve things. We grieve all kind of loss. We grieve broken friendships. We grieve broken relationships. We grieve. Grief is loss, period, not just to death. And so I was dealing with grief. I was dealing with the feeling of failure. I was dealing with the feeling of inadequacy, and I was dealing with being alone. Okay. I was alone. And I felt like I didn't have anyone. And then when I say alone, I did have family, but at that time in a relationship status, I was alone. And so I understand how hard it is for the holidays to be able to navigate. And that was all the way back years ago, over 10 years ago. But then about 7 or 8 years ago, that same holiday time frame, Thanksgiving, became again yet another point of anxiety for me and PTSD for me. It was Thanksgiving again where I was with family and I wasn't alone, but it was the marker. My grandfather took very ill on Thanksgiving Day. And so we rushed him to the hospital and found out he had had a stroke on Thanksgiving Day, and everything kind of went downhill from there. He subsequently passed that during that season, but it all started at Thanksgiving. So for me, the holiday became a point of anxiety and intrepidation and fear, and oftentimes I find myself wanting to isolate and hope for the day and hope for the holiday to be over. And so I'm coming with these tips this month because I understand how holidays can trigger things. For some people it's Christmas, for some it's birthdays, other holidays, but holidays can trigger us when we're dealing with grief. For those who are single and not in relationship with anyone, that's when not being in relationship hits you the hardest. For those of you who are in relationships but they aren't good relationships, it hits the hardest, right? For those of you who have had things happen to you around these time frames, anxiety and PTSD begins to happen. And so the holidays can just be a really tough season for all of us. And so tonight, with the last few minutes I have in this Tip Tuesday, the first thing I really, really want to put out there is to keep yourself busy. Okay, set yourself a schedule, get involved, do stuff. Do not allow yourself to be isolated. You need people and you need to be around people. It doesn't matter which state you find yourself in. If it's grief of a loss of a loved one, if it's grief because you're not in a relationship, singleness, if it's anxiety because something bad happened or something happened on a holiday, whatever it is, you need to find things to do to occupy your time If you're like me, giving back kind of fulfills you. Whatever it is, start to set some traditions, do some things. There are some things that I just must do to surround myself. If I don't do it, I will find myself wallowing, and I will find myself back in the place in which I were in both instances. So we're going to keep ourselves busy. It doesn't matter what it is. We're going to get involved in groups and organizations. Set new traditions, y'all. For me, there are now new things that me and the family must do. I developed those things out of my grief and my loneliness. I've set those things and they've become really important. So for me, like Christmas, we have to travel now. We travel because I want to feel my kids, but so I want to take my mind off of the ones that I've lost. I want to take my mind off of the Christmas night where I found myself after coming out of a very bad relationship, and I was so broken. And I remember being in the bathroom floor of my mother's and father's house, crying my eyes out, and so that I had a resentment towards the Christmas season. And so now I have to travel. I have to do things, right? I keep myself busy. I have a schedule. There's certain traditions that I'm going to participate in. There's certain events that I must go to all the time, things I look forward to. Do not isolate yourself. That is probably the worst thing that we can do, is isolate ourselves, because when we isolate ourselves, it gives it time for our mind to start thinking and doing, and it has a mind of its own. And depression can and will creep in when you are isolated. We need other people to make us laugh. We need other people to make us see the silver lining. We need other people just to remind us, of the good moments, and to keep our minds going, right? It's important. We can't sit still a lot during the holidays, and you can't isolate yourself. Now let me go down the line right quick. If you're single, that doesn't mean go out there and find Tom, Dick, and Harry, or Sally, Sue, and Jane, and just start doing anything. Be strategic and intentional about your busyness, right? Don't fall to your addictions and your weaknesses. For me, alcohol was the thing. If sex is the thing, don't fall privy to that. And we're going to talk about that next week. But don't fall privy to that. Don't allow yourself to get in a place where you do toxic things to stay busy. But we want to be intentional, and we want to make sure that we are being strategic in what we do so that we get the best benefit out of staying busy, being busy and being fulfilled. Okay. Don't just be busy with toxic, negative things, or things that really don't promote a healthy mindset. Okay. So if you got to go to all the parades, catch them all. If you got to go and see lights here and there, catch them all. If you got to go, if there's movies, catch them all. If you got to go and do family roundabout visits to family members, do so. If you have to go and commit to serving the less fortunate, do so. If you have to go and commit to taking up a hobby during the seasons, do so. Whatever it is, do so for your own benefit, so that you cannot find yourself sinking during the holiday season, right? If you are remembering someone, if you're struggling because of the loss of someone, then that is a perfect time to bring their memories and their traditions to life. It becomes even more important now to do the things that you would have done with that person, to keep those things alive, to keep the memory. So stay busy. Isolation and idleness, as someone just said, does not help. Okay. It hinders us, and it will make us feel all sort of ways. So it's necessary that we understand that we must occupy our time with things that fulfill us, and not things that are toxic to us. Okay. I know you will still shed tears, you will still have moments, but it's okay, because if you're not alone, something and someone will remind you of the moments and why we live and why we enjoy. I promise myself I will never allow myself to get back to that place again. And even though I don't necessarily always initially look forward to Thanksgiving, because I have PTSD. There's a few things have happened, I now push myself to make it a big deal. It's a big holiday for me. Same thing with Christmas and other times and moments. And so on tonight, I just want to encourage you, stay busy and stay productive, operate in purpose, and literally you'll find yourself feeling better during these holiday seasons. So again, I'm Lady B, the First Lady of the Flame 32 Church and the Glow Center. Two churches, one vision, where we love God, we live God, and we give God. Get close to the flame. It don't burn, it only glows. Peace. See you next Tuesday.